Good morning, all of you. The title of my presentation is an analog digital hybrid wave equation solver using a 180 nanometer analog CMOS chip and Roach 2 FPGAs. So this will be a little bit different talk than the previous ones. I'm Nilan Udayanga and other contributors for this. Sure. Okay. Yeah. Other contributors for this research are Jiful Liang, Dr. Arjuna Madanayaka, Dr. Saumijit Mandal, Dr. S.I. Hariharan, Dr. L.T. Bruton, and Dr. Leo Belostowski. This work is funded by DARPA. And this is the outline of my presentation. I will start my presentation with a brief motivation behind our research. And then I will explain the all-pass delay approximation method that we proposed to map to solve linear and non-linear partial differential equations. Then I will introduce you an analog CMOS 1D wave equation solver that we have designed using 180 nanometer CMOS technology. And then we use this chip with Roach 2 FPGAs to design a hybrid computational platform. I will conclude my presentation with measurement and speed up results. So as we know, analog computers were the primary method of computation in 1930s to 1940s. However, the invention of digital computers followed by transistor scaling surpassed analog computing over the last few decades. According to the Moore's law, speeding and processing power of digital computers were doubled every 2 years. However, digital computing hardware and algorithms are no longer improving exponentially as Moore's law slows down. Also, even with modern GPUs, complex problems such as solving multidimensional partial differential equations sometimes consume an unreasonably longer time to produce a solution. So the research question is, can we combine analog circuits with existing digital systems to accelerate PDE-based computations? So we think there's a possibility because analog circuits realized in mainstream CMOS technologies have shown a tremendous performance improvement in the recent years, which hasn't been explored in analog computations yet, and also the solutions of PDEs are continuous in time, which has a natural fit to solve using analog computers. So this shows the overview of our proposed system. So all the computations are performed in continuous time domain using an analog custom chip, and boundary conditions and input excitations are generated inside the Roach 2 FPGA and supplied to the chip using an ADIS DAC card, and the computed results are then fed back into the FPGAs for post-processing using an ADC card. So we are using a microcontroller to program and calibrate the analog chip using an SPI interface. So we have come up with a method to map a given partial differential equation into analog circuits which can eventually solve the partial differential equation. So which we call as all-pass delay approximation method. So I will explain this method very briefly using the 1D wave equation solver because I'm using these results to implement the analog circuit. So if you consider equation number 1, which shows the 1D wave equation, here EZXT provides the electric field intensity of a propagating wave at position x and time t. And this method is discrete in space but continuous in time such that it can be computed using analog circuits. So consider a spatial domain of x from 0 to Lx, which is described into nx plus 1 spatial point where delta x is the spatial step size. Here spatial index I is the left boundary and the I is equal to nx is the right boundary. So the first step of the all-pass delay approximation method is to approximate the spatial domain partial derivatives using finite differences as given in equation number 2. And the step number 2 is to apply finite difference approximation along the time dimension but keeping the time variable continuous as given in equation number 3. You can see that this equation, this expression is discrete in space but continuous in time. So after the step number 1 and 2, the wave equation can be expressed as equation number 4, and even here you can see it's discrete in space but continuous in time. So what we can do is in the step number 3, we are applying the Laplace transform along the time dimension, which leads to equation number 5. Here we consider 0 initial conditions, and we are using this expression to design an analog circuit which can compute the electric field at the ith spatial point. So let's see how we can implement this circuit. The first thing that we need to keep in mind is the electric fields in this equation are represented using voltages in our circuit. So the summing and scaling operations are realized using an op-amp circuit as shown in here, and the continuous time delay operator e to the minus s tau is approximated using an all-pass filter, which has an approximate S-domain transfer function of e to the minus s tau, where tau is the group delay of the all-pass filter. So the block phi s here represent an all-pass filter which has a group delay of tau. So this is the complete circuit diagram of this expression which implements, which can compute the electric field at ith spatial point. So if you need to compute the whole solution over the whole spatial grid, what we need to do is we need to interconnect them in a systolic array architecture as shown in this figure, and at the boundaries you may need to come up with a different circuit based on the governing equation at the boundaries. So I'm here showing only the radiation boundary condition which came up with the radiation boundary conditions, but I'm not going to go through the maths. But the circuit is a little bit similar to the internal module, but their gains are different and it has only one input. So this is actually the top level block diagram of the analog chip that we have designed using 180 nanometer CMOS technology, which has 18 modules. So each module is correspond to one particular spatial point, and module 1 to 16 is based on the internal module, and module 17 is used to simulate Dirichlet and Newman boundary conditions, and module 18 is used to simulate radiation boundary condition. So I'm not going to go through the circuits here, but I'll show you the final layout of the chip. So here you can see this. We have 18 modules, 9 in one side, and this chip has a bandwidth of 50 megahertz, and the power consumption is 200 milliwatt, and it can simulate 3 different boundary conditions, and we can digitally program them. And each module has digitally programmable gains, which can be used for partial PVT and PVT variations. So, and also this one can be used can be used to cascade different chips to simulate a larger spatial dimension, but we haven't tested it yet, but it has the capability. So, so we use this chip with the Roach 2 FPGAs. So you can see this is the evaluation board, and so you can see a closer look up here. So the input excitations and the boundary conditions are generated inside a Roach 2 FPGA and supplied to the chip using a 50 ohm line. You can't see that clearly, but it's connected to here, and the computed outputs and all the computations happen here, and all the outputs are set back into the FPGA through a 16 input analog to digital converter. So we are using a microcontroller here to program the variable gains and the bias voltages. So these are some of the results that we measure from our setup. So for the three different boundary conditions. So figure A is for the radiation boundary condition, and figure B is for the Dirichlet boundary condition or the fixed boundary, and figure C is for the Neumann boundary conditions or the soft boundary. So you can see in the radiation boundary condition, you can't say, you don't have any reflection at the right boundary, but in this case, you can see at the boundaries you have a reflection. So in each case, the left boundary is excited using a sinusoidal pulse at 30 megahertz. So then we compare these results with MATLAB finite difference time domain solver. So figure A shows the results from the measurements, and figure B is from MATLAB. This is for the radiation boundary condition. And in order to quantify how much our continuous time solutions deviate from the finite difference time domain method, we have calculated mean square difference and the noise to signal energy ratio. And figure E shows the results. So you can see the measurements shows a difference less than negative 10 dB in terms of the noise energy to signal energy ratio. So we are currently working on improving these results using an optimization technique for the calibration, because the calibration is the main issue. We have several gains in our each module, and also we have several bias voltages. So initially what we are trying to do is we are trying to optimize the bias voltages. Here we have 7 bias voltages. We are trying to optimize these bias voltages in order to minimize the noise to signal energy ratio. So we are using a simultaneous perturbation stochastic approximation technique for the optimization, and figure B shows the flow diagram of the process. So what we are doing is we are initially setting a bias voltage using a microcontroller and DAC, and then we excite the boundary using FPGA, and all that computation happen in the analog domain using the chip, and the computer results are captured using an FPGA, and then we compare these results with MATLAB, and then based on these results, the optimization technique can optimize the voltage values for the next iteration, and we automate this system, and it can optimize the bias voltages to minimize the noise energy to signal energy ratio. So let me show you a small video clip which shows how it happens. So let me take it here. So here what you have is the bias voltages, and these are the real-time measurements from the chip, and so this is for a radiation boundary condition, which means we shouldn't have any reflection from the boundary, and the amplitude over the spatial domain should be same over the whole spatial domain. So here we shows the loss function or the objective function, which is the noise energy to signal energy ratio. So let's see how it automatically improves the results. So you can see the bias voltages are changing, and also you can see it's automatically try to adjust the outputs as to improve the noise energy to signal energy ratio. So it will improve the results. So these are the measurement results, and let me go back to the presentation. Do you know? Okay, thank you. So we estimated the speed up of the analog chip. We have compared these results with a finite difference time domain solver, which is executed on an NVIDIA Tesla K40 GPU. Based on the results, the equivalent bandwidth, temporal bandwidth of the GPU-based FDTD solver is about 1 megahertz. And comparing with our analog solver, the speed up is about 30 times, and it only consumes about 200 milliwatt of power. We haven't compared the power yet, but it has a speed up of 30 times. So it doesn't mean that like this chip can beat the digital computers that we have right now. Let's say if you implement digital chip which can only solve 1D wave equation, it can have a more bandwidth than this, but this method shows a promising pathway that we can explore to accelerate analog computing based computations. So as a conclusion, an analog computing method has been introduced to compute the continuous time solution of the wave equation. A 1D wave equation solver has been designed, laid out and fabricated using 180 nanometer CMOS technology. A prototype of an analog digital hybrid computation platform is designed and implemented using an analog chip and the FPGAs. We have measurement and speed up results are provided that compare the results with MATLAB FPGA. We thank DARPA for their financial support, which is via a sub-award from OCS Technologies. And these are the references that I use. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for listening.
So that simulation that you did, was that showing the reflections on the analog surface?
Yeah, those are, you mean the video?
Yeah.
Yeah, those are from the analog chip, and the outputs of the analog chip are taken back into the FPGA, and these are these results are in the analog digital version, but the computation happen in the analog circuit. Yeah. Yeah.
How did you convince anyone to give you funding to build an analog computer these days?
No, there are so many applications. Even now, DARPA has 2 RFIs. They are not generally focused for the analog computations, but they are for solving partial differential equations, because most of the complex partial differential equation doesn't have a analytical solution as well as a numerical solution. So they need a different technique than the digital circuits that we have right now to solve those complex circuits. So we can explore this technique for those kind of applications.
So this technique really lends itself to wave equations. Are there other? So is it limited in the type of equations?
No, we have came up with the algorithms for the Maxwell's equations as well, for the both magnetic and electric fields, and we are now working on nonlinear partial differential equation solving using the analog computers. We are currently working on that, and most probably within 1 year, we will come up with one chip which can solve one particular nonlinear partial differential equation. Yep.
Thanks very much, Matt.
Okay, thank you.